Hello classes, we're off on another painting adventure. And in this painting we're doing right now, we're going to be working with the separation of warm colors and cool colors on the color wheel. This is on the second sheet of information that I gave you. And I do want you to paint these in before you start the project, so you're going to be able to see very clearly while you're painting the project which ones are the warm colors, which ones are the cool. Pay special attention to the fact that yellow green is actually warm, but the other greens are cool. So when you're selecting greens, depending on what you need to do, make sure you have a warm one, which is warm, which is cool. Also over here, actually red violet is actually considered a cool color, where all the other reds and oranges are very warm. If, for instance, if I need a red, but I need it to be cool, this is my only choice. If I need a red, but it has to be warm, then I have kind of a range right here. So just pay super careful attention to this. So paint this in so you can refer to it. For our paper today, I'd like you to go ahead and use that one last sheet that's a little bit larger, because I think you're going to enjoy having a little bit more room for this painting. So you have one more sheet of watercolor paper. It's slightly oversized. I would go ahead and use that one today. The other thing, since we're just getting ready to start, I'm going to pause right now and add some water to each of my colors. I'm going to be able to use a lot of different colors on this painting if I want to. So I'm getting some water here to get them kind of softened up before I'm ready to start painting in a little bit. Also remember everything we've talked about the techniques. You can use the different techniques wherever you feel like, whatever my best choice is. Also, you have a palette up here. I still have some color left over from last time I was painting, but actually I might want those colors, so I'm not going to wipe it off. If you did want to clean it off, all you have to do is get your paper towel wet, and this will dissolve. You can wipe it right off. If this is annoying to you, get a wet paper towel, wipe that off. It cleans up actually quite quickly. So no worries. It's up to your personal preference and how clean you want everything to be. So as far as warm and cool colors go, I'm going to talk about that in a minute, and then we'll get started. Oh, also for what we're doing in class today, you probably want some things that are circular, so you can make some circular type shapes. So I do have a compass, but if you don't have a compass, just find some stuff, glasses, bowls, whatever you can find, usually in the kitchen, that will help you draw some circles. We'll need this a little later. So with warm and cool colors, there's a couple things that are happening. First of all, it's just a general feel of the painting. If I'm painting the desert and I want you to feel warm, I'm going to stick within these colors. I'm not going to start adding random blue flowers, because that's like visually confusing, and usually you don't see blue flowers in the desert anyway. If I want to paint the Arctic or the mountains or the Sierras, it feels cool there. So I'm going to want, for the most part, to stick within these colors for that painting. I'll try not to use yellow-green especially, but this other range of colors. So you can just feel the temperature difference. Another thing that warm and cool colors do is that life experience tells us that when we see a warm color, it's up close to us. And when we see a cool color, it's further away. So for instance, if I look up at the mountains, I know in person, if I was standing there, I'd see some greens, I'd see some browns, some kind of sandy colors and stuff. But if I look at mountains far away, they actually look kind of blue, blue-violet. All of a sudden, they've turned blue. And that's because of the water and the atmosphere and so on. It fades things out and it blues things as it gets further and further away. Because of life experience, we tend to see cool colors as something that goes back, warm colors as something that comes forward. Another thing, if you kind of want to do this when you're walking around outside or driving around outside, you'll notice that certain colors, especially the yellows and oranges and reds, you only see up close to you. Like somebody walking around in Maranatha sweatshirt, you'll see that bright red up close to you. But as that person walks further and further down the street, that bright red kind of fades out and eventually becomes something over here, kind of a dull grayish color. It's not so bright anymore because it's not so close to us. So the brighter colors do tend to pull forward. That's when I see, you don't see yellow far away. Exception would be the sunset. You don't see yellow far away too much. So there's this thing where this pulls forward, these go back. So we're going to really exaggerate this in our painting. Like I said, take a break and paint these colors in really quick. You've got them all here on your palette. It shouldn't take too much time. And you'll need to show this to me at the end of the painting. So with our painting, we're going to be doing a space theme. I want to show you some samples of things students have done in the past, and they're really fun. A lot of these are tempera because that's the paint we'd be using in the classroom, but I'll show you some watercolor ones in a minute. Anyway, I want you to think of something. You can have some planets, but I'd also like you to have something else besides just planets. Like this one's going to seem pretty boring compared to a lot of the other samples you're going to see. Here's one that has some cool stars. Notice the yellow pulling forward and the cool colors going back. This one is a constellation, which is kind of cool. Notice the warm pulling forward and the cool going back. Sorry, that's in the back. Here we go with some asteroids about to destroy something. Warm definitely pulling forward, cool going back. Sorry, I'm being so repetitive. And here we have all kinds of things happening. I don't know. Those are probably somebody specific. Maybe they're super beings or something. Here, anyway, they're flying through. Notice the warm colors, warm color. What's this cool color? This was a mistake, but notice how this blue planet goes back and doesn't pull forward like everything else. So in our painting, we're only going to have warm things as subject matter. The background's going to be strictly cool colors. This one's super creative. We got our cools back there, our blues and our violets and everything, but they have like some space aliens and a spaceship and so on. Really, really fun. Small mistake here with the blue. Other than that, it's a really fun painting. Here we have a lot of kind of white for contrast, but still some warm colors, and see how they pull forward for us. Here's another one. This one has some really cool details if you see it up close, but a nice separation of the cool in the background, warm in the foreground. Remember, if you have yellow green, yellow is a warm and it pulls forward. Here's all kinds of space explosions going on, all in really warm colors. Here's another kind of space spiral. I'm not quite sure what's happening. And they added some blue here, I think, to give it some depth, but still warm pulling forward, cool going back. Here's some type of beginning of life or something, I don't know. Anyway, definitely the space around it goes back even further. This one's cool because they did a close-up of some things, but here's our space, our cool back here. So we understand this is close to us, this is further away. As far as our painting we're doing today, this is a sample I made, I think, last year that has, in watercolors, it has the cool background and the warm foreground, and I decided to paint, instead of a star, I thought I'll just paint a starfish in the sky. What we're going to be doing, we're going to draw our painting first, and then we're going to paint the background, and then we're going to paint the foreground. That's what you do to keep your edges. So I wanted to show you two other samples of backgrounds. These two paintings, I never did paint the detailed foreground, but they both have a little bit of, you don't have to do salt, but because you're painting space, it might be fun. You have your blues, your violets, your gray to work with, as you know, and then just leave the other parts of your painting, leave the paper dry so that there's a separation between your background and your foreground, and then you would just need to go in and paint the details on this later. So this is kind of step one, and then we'll do step two. So to get step one started, I'm going to do a drawing. I'm going to ask you to add something. Oh, I got this wet, so I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to ask you, it really doesn't matter which side you work on, except this side's a little bit, see if I can dry it. This side, that side's a little bit scratched up. So I'll use this side anyway. So you're going to need to draw some type of space theme. I think I decided I wanted to try and do a pig, because that would be fun to see, pig flying around space. So I want a larger planet. So I think I'm going to use this roll of tape for a larger planet over here somewhere. And just trace it. I'm going to have, remember, 3 or 5 is always more interesting, so I'm going to try and come up with 3 or 5 things. I thought it'd be cool to overlook something even bigger, so I'm going to have a part of a big planet down here. And then I thought it'd be nice to have some smaller ones too. I'm going to draw my space pig flying around here. So maybe medium one here. Whoops, that got screwed there. Turn that upside down. 3, 5, 7 things, right? Would be more interesting. And maybe a couple space pigs here. Maybe a small one kind of off the page here. Just composing what would be interesting. If you flow this is going to be my center of interest. So do I want this here or here? Maybe over here to kind of make you stay on the page. We talked about blocking the corners a little bit. So my other, they can be similar sizes, different sizes. You can use a coin, anything around to get you your design. So I wanted something a little unusual, so I'm going to draw a flying pig. So if I'm not looking at anything, I'm just kind of making this up. So let me see, he has kind of stubby pig feet. He's going to be chubby. Okay, so that's kind of starting my drawing. I'll make it a slightly larger for you. So I'm just going to sketch in my little pig. So he's going to have kind of floppy ears and kind of a big snout here. And I'm going to make him, I think I'll have his mouth be open a little bit, just because I can. Big, chubby, piggish looking. So here's mine. They have kind of like hoofs, and so hoof, chubbiness, and another. My idea is if the pig is flying, I think there's an expression about pigs flying. There's this curly tail, and then here, usually their thigh of most animals is bigger than the arms, right? And so here's a belly. This kind of a strange flying pig. Okay, so this is my flying pig. He seems like he needs something to make him more, I don't know, so I'm going to add a cape to him. He just needs a little something extra. So that's going to be my flying pig. I need to get my eraser. So whatever it is you want to draw, you don't, obviously I'm not expecting to draw a pig. I was purposely being silly. Whatever it is, and I can change him. Watercolor painting, I don't have to keep things exact. I just want to leave most of where he is kind of plain and white. I suppose it would probably look better if I had a little more space there, but maybe not. So here's my basic design. What I'm going to do next is add some kind of background, and then I have to let it dry. So to add the background, I'm going to go back and refer to my colors. Again, my background can be red, violet, blues, and green. You can add black either way. Black's a neutral. It can go with the warms or with the cools, especially if you add a little bit of color to it. So this is, I'm going to leave this here as a reference. There it goes. See, here's my reference. Cool colors, warm colors. I don't really want to get paint on it though. Okay, that's perfect. So now my first step is to get my background wet. So I don't want to get my pig wet or the planets wet. So I'm going to add some water. The thing about water, I have a pretty good amount of water right now. So it's going to want to soak into the paper fairly quickly. So I'm going to have to probably keep adding water. If you didn't add water to your paints, make sure you do that before you start painting. Because you know, everything, when you're doing a big wash like this, time is really important. So if everything dries out while you're doing one thing, it might be a little frustrating for you. So I'm using a fair amount of water to go in here and get my painting nice. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe if I can have some kind of movement here. My pig's going to be light in color, so maybe the darkest part of my background is going to be towards the middle there. Okay, I'm making sure I have lots of water, and I can add more water as I'm painting. So I'm going to add some, take some black. I already have this blue violet. Whoa, that's dark. This blue violet here. I'm going to add a little bit more violet to it. I'm going to start with some dark colors here, kind of feed. And I want to, if some of this, what we call bleeding, if I'm liking some of that, that's fine, you know, keep doing it. Then I'm going to have some blue mixed in. I want it kind of dark near the pig, like I mentioned. And then I want it to maybe get lighter towards other parts of my painting. So maybe I'll just make it really light out here, like more towards the blue. I also want to warn you, sometimes you think you've created something that has a lot of motion or something. The washes, sometimes they tend to change a little bit when they're drying. So I would exaggerate your colors just a little bit so that you end up with exactly what you want. So I'm using a pretty big brush so I can cover more area while I'm painting. So I probably need to add some more water here and there. I might get this a little bit darker again and see kind of what happens. I want to have a kind of a dark pathway through my painting that is going to help the pig be the center of interest. Oops, I went over the top of that. This is over here. Oh boy, you do something you really don't like, remember you can always dab it out. Got some of it out. Okay, and then I'm going to add some more of my lighter color. Mine's mostly blue and black, but you can add as much color as you want. So if you are doing this live, you probably need to really pay attention to what you're doing. I had a little bit of dry brush happening there, which would be cool in normal situations, but I don't think I want it this time. Okay, so I have some nice things happening. Now I think I might want to get it a little bit more exciting. I'm going to switch to another brush. I think I'll use this brush, a little bit of some detailed areas, and get some more color here and there. Also, I want to mention that the colors dull a little bit when they're dry. Like I was saying, doesn't always come out the way you think it will. So you might want to make it slightly brighter than you really want it to be. And then, am I going to add salt? Probably. I can go back. Some of these brush strokes that I'm not meaning to make might just show up again later, even though they're not showing up right now. If I want something lighter, just add more water. And then, okay, I'm kind of liking this because then I can get some dark, rich color here. It's going to be dark in here a little bit. This is a depression in the paper. I'm not sure I like that. I'm going to remove some of that. It's kind of sinking in. So one thing, I mentioned this before, one technique that's kind of cool, instead of the salt, get a nice big brush that's stiff, just like this one, and I'm just going to fleck some water on it. It's going to make some white spots, and then you can see a few of them happening. And then I'm also going to, I think I'm going to go ahead and add some salt. I want more of those white spots up there. Add some salt to this mess, and kind of let it happen. And then I'm going to have to leave it alone while it dries. It's not going to help you. When you do the salt, you can't paint it anymore. You have to just don't touch it and let the salt do its thing. You don't have to use salt here. Where the painting is more wet, the salt will have one type of reaction. Where the painting's more dry, another type of reaction. I'm trying to concentrate my salt a little bit towards the middle and have it be a little bit less interesting here on the edges. Okay, that's my wash for now. I'm going to let this dry and then come back and do the foreground probably in another video.